everybody, and welcome to another episode of the It's the Pitchers podcast. I am your host, Max Colville, and joining me, as always, is my co-host, Evan Crean.
Hey
Hey,
Max,
Evan.
good to be back.
Yeah, we've we've had a festival break, if you will, and covering all the fall fests and TIFF specifically. But now you've come back at the turn of the tide.
Yep, I'm healthier. I've survived a case of hand, foot, and mouth that was going around my house. I think in the last since the last time we recorded together, and I'm feeling healthy. I'm feeling good, and good to be back.
Awesome, great to have you as always. Yeah, I think outside of the festivals going on, what's really been a big talking point in at least the world of film, even why the New York Film Festival starts getting going, and I guess Luca Guadagnino's After the Hunt makes its debut there, is that Paul Thomas Anderson's One Battle After Another has opened in theaters and with rave reviews from just about every critic. Fantastic Rotten Tomatoes and Metacritic scores, and people saying that it's a surefire Oscar nominee. We're gonna go into a little bit later. I've seen the movie, but
Oh, cool.
we figured it would be a great opportunity to revisit Paul Thomas Anderson. And since Evan wasn't with me when we last recorded about PTA, and I figured it'd be fun to do an episode together.
Yeah, for sure.
But before we get into our feature, we're gonna follow up on some things from last time. During the TIFF wrap up episode, I mentioned that Jimmy Kimmel was kind of like suspended from air due to some commentary he made during his episode, and there was a lot of blowback against Hulu and Disney. Um, Also, like the I guess what was it, the network advertisers or something, like Sinclair and Nexstar. I think they're like the big groups that kind of run those
Yeah,
networks
right. Yeah, the local,
and
the companies that own all those like local
affiliates.
stations
Yeah.
there. Yeah,
So there was not necessarily that Jimmy Kimmel is the be all end all of television shows. It was more about what it meant to kind of silence a critic of the government, and how we don't want our nation to be like North Korea or China. So
mm-hmm.
since we last recorded, uh, Disney invited Jimmy Kimmel back on air. A few days later, after that, Sinclair and Nexstar decided to lift their bans. He's now going to be back to all his regular stations and affiliates. Um, Evan, did you have any comments or thoughts about this whole scenario?
Oh yeah, I mean, I was just super pissed. I mean, I never watched Jimmy Kimmel really, but I was just really angry that the head of the FCC and this presidential administration tried to silence Jimmy Kimmel by intimidating him and getting the network to like take his show off the air about it. I think justified jokes and comments that he made about how Trump and his supporters were reacting to the death of Charlie Kirk. It was just disgusting to me, especially given, our country is built on the First Amendment and the freedom of speech, and to try and silence that, try to silence your critics, that's fascist, and I'm not on board with it. So yeah, I was pretty pissed when I heard the news, but and also kind of in the wake of Colbert getting canceled too because of Trump suing Paramount and stuff like that. So yeah, when I heard, I was upset, but then I heard that people were canceling their Disney Plus and Hulu memberships, and I heard that Disney took like a $4 billion hit on that, and that's great. I love that people use the power of their money to tell Disney and ABC what they should be doing and what they shouldn't be doing, and that's people love to say like, oh, capital it's capitalism. You gotta vote with your wallet, and that is exactly what people did.
Right.
They use their money and wielded the power as consumers to say, "Hey, this isn't right, and you got to fix it." So
Y-
it was the exact right result that should happen when
Right. It
something
was
like
funny.
this.
It was funny too. I thought I was gonna like hang around with like Hulu and Disney and stuff because I had like a good bundle deal going.
Hmm.
But then like I guess like Disney wanted Kimmel back on the air because they were going to announce a price increase for Disney Plus, and I was just like, "Oh, that's like the final straw." I'm like, "I'm not in for this," and so I canceled my membership. And when it expires, I'll probably be trying YouTube TV myself. So, but then in lighter news, certainly much lighter news, there was a new cast photo for Spaceballs 2. And this is the long gestating, maybe not really sequel to the original Spaceballs
Hmm.
um, all those years ago. It's just like some part of you almost doesn't want them to touch this because it lives like in a place of pure nostalgia. But then another
Hmm.
place is like, oh well, everybody's back on board. Why not? At least I'm interested to see them all give it a go.
Yeah, I mean, there's been many jokes over the years about them doing a sequel to Spaceballs. I mean, even in Spaceballs, they make a joke.
Right.
God forbid we all return in Spaceballs 2, the search for more money. And so I've always loved Spaceballs, one of my favorite movies, favorite comedies. I love Mel Brooks, and yeah, I was excited that they were actually finally pulling the trigger on a sequel. Not that I feel like it necessarily needs one, but sure, if they're gonna make it, I'll sit my butt in the seat and watch it. And yeah, there was that table read photo that showed up. That was what a reference to the table read photo that they took from The Force Awakens when that was
Yeah.
went into production. Like very clearly paying homage to it, but obviously including things in the background that are either just straight up jokes. Like there's a pizza on a chair, I'm assuming in honor of Tom DeLuise, or like
Yeah.
a cooler in the background that's supposed to look like R2D2 in a crate and things like that. So I'm glad that they're starting out with the sense of humor I'd expect from this crew.
Yeah, and for me too, it's like I'm excited to see Rick Moranis and something else. It's been a long time since we've seen him on screen, and this kind of got him to sign up and be a part of it. Will be fun to see.
Yeah, me too. I always loved Rick Moranis and thought he was a terrific actor, and was sad, but understood totally that he retired from acting to raise his family after his wife passed away. And I'm glad that he's getting back into it. I always thought, you know, his role in Spaceballs, his performance is one of the funniest ever. He's just so hilarious, and so I'm really excited to see him come back and jump back into acting. I hope that he doesn't stop here. I hope that he does some other stuff too, because he's a very funny guy.
Yeah, right. And hopefully this is one of many new things that he has lined up as opposed to a one-off. But either way, excited to see him on the big screen once again. The
Hmm.
next piece of news, Evan, is that we kind of knew that this was drumming up because it's been in the works for a few, I guess like 2 or 3 months now. I've heard it, that it was in production, and Aaron Sorkin, writer of West Wing and the original Social Network, as well as director of Molly's Game and what was it, the trial of the Chicago Five, or was it something
Oh,
along
to
those
Trial
lines?
Chicago 7. Yeah.
Yeah, that came out a few years ago. He is going to be writing and directing a follow up to the Social Network himself, titled The Social Reckoning.
Mm.
It now has a theatrical window of October 9th, 2026. And most importantly, I guess, Jeremy Strong of Succession fame will be playing Mark Zuckerberg this time around, where he's joined by Oscar winner Mikey Madison, Jeremy Allen White, and
Bill
others.
Burr.
So, yeah, Bill Burr. So, I don't know. I didn't really love. I guess he also did like a Lucy and Ricky movie, didn't he? Like I Love Lucy. Like Aaron Sorkin did that one with like Nicole Kidman and Javier Bardem. I think he. I think that was like the
Oh
last
yeah, he
movie he
did.
did.
Did he do that?
Um, so I don't know. I think the Social Network itself is very well written, but I don't know if
Yes,
I think that he's as good as a director as he is a writer.
I hear you on that. Yeah, the Social Network I think is very snappy, and I think some of that has to do with Aaron Sorkin, and some of that has to do with David Fincher. And I agree with you that I don't think Aaron Sorkin is as strong of a director. I don't remember loving Molly's Game. I think that was a movie that I saw. I was like, I don't know how it was strong. I think he's a strong writer. I don't know how strong a director he is. So yeah, I'm a little skeptical of this, like you. I like the cast, but I also
Mm-hmm.
am just kind of like Jeremy Strong playing Mark Zuckerberg. I just it doesn't feel like a very inspired choice to me, because I feel like Jeremy Strong we've already kind of seen him play really arrogant stuffed suit kind of character on Succession for all this time. So I'm just kind of
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, Mark Zuckerberg. I don't know. It doesn't feel very inspired, but I'm sure he'll give it his all.
Yeah, a spoiled rich kid. Like it's kind of like reads the same type of role, right?
Yeah. And I like Mikey Madison, and I really like Jeremy Allen White as I've been watching these last couple seasons of The Bear.
Yeah, but I'm sure Sony has a big hopes for it certainly because I think
Mm-hmm.
not only was Social Network a successful movie critically, but also I think financially. So, but yeah, I think that's gonna do it for our news. And um, as I said before, we're gonna go into Paul Thomas Anderson. I really pulled Evan's arm to do Paul Thomas Anderson. Um, I explained to him that I have seen all the main features that PTA has directed. I think that there was like two that I hadn't seen. It's like smaller things. I think he's done like documentaries.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but for a little backstory into PTA for at least the Gets to Pictures podcast, back in 2021, I was recording episode 122 with guest Ethan Warren, and I guess he was on the verge of writing a Paul Thomas Anderson book. I think since that's come out that he wrote one, and so he was doing a lot of research into PTA. Big fan, and that was like on the eve of Licorice Pizza coming out.
Mm,
Um, that episode is still the most downloaded episode in It's the Picture's history.
nice.
And but since Evan wasn't here then, I figured it would be great to have his input onto PTA and um, try to chase those downloads again.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not above that.
Yeah, that's fair. Um, yeah, I wish I could say I've seen a lot of his stuff recently. I've seen some of the staples that are in the list, and it seems like I've seen some of the ones that you're either you didn't see or you're less than thrilled about. So I think that will make hopefully will make for some interesting conversation. But I'm definitely looking forward to hearing about his latest film because I am interested to see that.
Yeah, so Paul Thomas Anderson really got his start, at least in feature film directing, in 1996's Hard Eight, and I've only seen that movie once, so I didn't really want to talk about it in that great a depth here. Um, he started working with regular collaborators there, and found some people that he loved working with, like who am I thinking of, like um,
Philip Seymour Hoffman, right? Was
well,
he one of
yeah,
the people that who worked with a
uh,
bunch of times?
yeah, he's one of the regulars. Philip Seymour Hoffman. I'm trying. Philip Baker Hall, I think, is
Yep.
the one I was thinking of. I think he was in Hard Eight and Boogie Nights and Magnolia, so he was in quite a bit of early PTA movies. And he kind of collected his cast of regulars, and you'll see that throughout his filmography. Any director likes to work on the same guy again. I think I just saw like a real Evan too with John C. Riley, and I guess John C. Riley was like, "Oh yeah, I was in a bunch of Paul Thomas Anderson movies," and he's like, what I told Paul is that he doesn't need to cast me in every movie just because I'm his friend. And then he's like, I haven't gotten a call back since, and he laughed about it. Um, but yeah, so yeah, he has his crew of regulars, and that kind of started off with Hard Eight, but and from there he would go on to direct um
Boogie Nights.
Boogie Nights, yes, Boogie Nights in '97, like very quickly afterwards. And for a lot of people, I guess all these movies are really great one way or another. So there's people that have their favorites, but I wouldn't be surprised if Boogie Nights is a great many people's favorite Paul Thomas Anderson movie. Um, this one stars like Mark Wahlberg in the lead of like he plays, I guess like he's a porno actor, right?
I believe so. I've never actually seen Boogie Nights. I've just seen like bits and pieces here and there that I've like seen it on places and then like and like I've been meaning to get around to watching the whole thing. Just never have. But yeah, I know it's about the porn industry and Mark Wahlberg and what Heather
Yeah,
Graham, right? Or
he
Julianne
gets
Moore.
cast, not
Thinking
necessarily Mark Wahlberg's actor in the movie gets cast not because he necessarily has acting chops, but because he has a big dick. So that's enough for him to get into that industry. And yeah, like you were mentioning, there's a lot of you know a list of fantastic actors in that movie. Um, Nowadays, I really can't stand Mark Wahlberg, but he's perfectly cast in Boogie Nights, and I think he works pretty well in that one.
Yeah, I hear you. I don't think I'm as big a fan as latter day Mark Wahlberg, but I did think earlier in his career, like in the 90s when he was like transitioning from being, the Marky Mark the rapper that we all knew of to Mark Wahlberg the actor, he was definitely making some braver, more interesting acting and movie decisions.
So before I jump into Magnolia, which is one of my favorite Paul Thomas Anderson movies, I wanted to share like how PTA got his start in filmmaking. And uh, when I was doing some research, I found that he made his first film at the age of 8, and that as a teenager, he used some money from a part time job to finance a 30-minute mockumentary film called the
Mhm.
Dirk Diggler Story, which he filmed in '88, which would serve as the basis for Boogie Nights. Um, from there, he raised money, uh, scrapping together whatever he could to make a 20-minute short called Cigarettes and Coffee in 1993. And that short was accepted into the Sundance Festival Shorts program, which, we just talked about the late Robert Redford last episode, and the Sundance Institute. Here you go. Here's another instance of how important that was. Um, it the film did fine there, and he was invited to the feature film program, and that's what eventually got him the money and clout he needed to direct Hard Eight. So, um,
Very cool
move along.
backstory.
But yeah, when he made Magnolia, it was another one of these like long, kind of like sprawling films with like a humongous cast, right?
Hmm.
But it also had a lot of interesting things going on. It has like a beginning section that is almost like a prequel where I, not necessarily a prequel, I guess, but it's this long story, right, of like this guy who like tried to commit suicide by jumping out of a building, but on his way out of jumping out of the building, there's like a altercation between two other people in this hotel or like apartment complex,
Mm.
and a shotgun blast. kills him while he's falling down. So they're like, oh, it was actually murder and not suicide. And they go into this like big story about it. It's like it's truly fascinating. Um, I know, Evan. It's pretty funny. The first time I ever became like aware of Magnolia was from the board game Seen It. I don't know if you're familiar with that board game.
I do remember seeing it. Yeah.
Yeah, they would like have like it was like made for like the DVD era where you'd have the
Right.
DVD remote in your hand
Yeah.
and be
With like
like,
movie clips and things to guess. Yeah.
right, and like so they would show the sequence in Magnolia where the frogs are falling down from the sky on the cars and everything, and it's just like, what movie is this?
Yeah.
And it always kind of fascinated me, and might have led to me eventually finding it. Um, but yeah, like I said, there's a bunch of like different stories that are kind of connected in it. I know I mentioned John C. Riley, and I forget like if he's kind of like a loner or something, and like this woman comes to his house, and like he starts like having a relationship with her. Um, I know the aforementioned. Um, now his name's escaping me again.
Jason Robards.
No.
I'm trying to
The
think who
Philip
you're.
Philip
Phil
Baker
Baker
Hall.
Hall. That's right.
Yeah. So he is like the host of a game show, and I think he has like a heart attack or something and goes into a coma, and Tom Cruise plays like his son or something, and
Yeah.
Tom Cruise is like this guy who's selling like I don't know like supplements or like a fitness package, right? He has a lot of charisma, and he's like really trying to sell something, and like you find out through the story that like they're connected, and like Cruise's character never like got the attention he needed from his father, and there's a really strong scene with Cruise like at his father's bed and like just like really teary-eyed and upset about it, and it's Tom Cruise in Magnolia is like one of my favorite Tom Cruise performances out of everything that he's ever done. So
Yeah. It's definitely one of his more gonzo performances. Like, I think of that like alongside with like Les Grossman in Tropic Thunder in terms of like him just totally going for broke and just totally leaning into this like outrageous persona. Like I remember it doesn't he have like a ponytail in this? He's got like a
yeah,
ponytail and one of those like headset microphones that he's doing at these like conferences to like teach dudes like how to pick up women and like just be
yeah.
gross and like get in their pants and stuff. And I just feel like Tom Cruise just totally just leans into it, just goes like full throttle as much as he goes like crazy for like the Ethan Hunt Mission Impossible stuff. I feel like he goes as hard in this role with that persona.
Yeah, and like you mentioned Philip Seymour Hoffman in this movie too, and he's like playing like the nurse that's like by that bed, so he's like in the background watching Tom Cruise like it's kind of like emotionally unload, and it's just like kind of airy.
Hmm. Yeah, I remember that scene. The frogs falling from the sky is probably the most memorable thing from this movie, in my opinion, because it's like, who the hell is gonna forget frogs raining from the sky? Like, come on, that's pretty crazy thing to have in your movie to have like a plot point, people getting whacked with frogs raining from the sky.
Yeah, I think the other thing that's really noticeable, at least for me, and there was a lot of movies during this era that had like really fantastic soundtracks. I think of like Good Will Hunting, specifically with Elliott Smith doing the soundtrack, and here you had Amy Mann doing the soundtrack for Magnolia, and her contribution to this movie is so much part of the DNA of Magnolia
Hmm.
that um, you really can't separate it. And I I think I have like a vinyl of I think Mondo, the poster company. I don't know what they're doing these days. They're still doing posters or what have you after they were
I
bought,
think so.
but they were doing vinyls for a while, and they did a vinyl of Magnolia, and I was like, I have to have that.
Yeah.
It's a real neat vinyl.
Yeah, I bet.
But yeah, I you know I think there's movies that I may or may not like as much as Magnolia further in his filmography, but like I still think that when I think of Paul Thomas Anderson, Magnolia is probably the movie I think of most. And for that reason, it's probably like the one I put above anything else in his filmography.
Mm.
Um, 3 years later, he would do a bizarre comedy romance with the unlikely lead of Adam Sandler in Punch Drunk Love. And I don't. Do you remember this film a lot, Evan?
So I remember probably not too long after it came out, I sat down and tried to watch this movie. I couldn't make it through. I feel like it deserves a revisit. I think because, at the time when I saw it, I was kind of like Adam Sandler. I'm used to him kind of doing one, or, we've talked about Adam Sandler on the
Yeah,
show. Like, and
yeah,
he's a comedian. He's very funny, and we've seen him long since this time do dramatic roles and be very good. But I feel like at the time I was just kind of like, what is this movie? What is it going for? I don't know. I'm not about it. I turned it off.
yeah. It's a very strange movie where like I guess Adam Sandler's character Barry Egan has this dream or this ambition of collecting frequent flyer miles. He thinks like they're worth gold or something, and he like does all this like kind of manipulation to get as many frequent flyer miles as he can.
Hmm.
And why he's doing that, he also like engages in like phone sex lines, and he's like trying to find a friend through the phone sex lines. But while all this is going on, he eventually becomes um, entangled with this woman named Lena, played by Emily Watson, and you could see like why he has such a difficult time with women. He has three overpowering sisters. He's like, I guess he's like one of four siblings, and they like really control his life because there's like a few scenes where there's like family gatherings, and they're like really hard on him. Um, but then he's having this relationship, and like things seem to be going okay, but he gets like in trouble because like the sex line wants to like bill him for all this money, and the head of this sex company is like played by Philip Seymour Hoffman, who's like he's like the pimp who works at like a mattress store, and he's like yelling onto the phone. There's like a fantastic scene where they're like having a phone exchange, um, and like I guess like also like Sandler plays Barry. He's not like he I wouldn't go far as to say like he's slow, but he's definitely like socially awkward.
Yeah.
Um, he has a lot of like weird things about him that could make people uncomfortable, and um, Lena seems to either like go with the flow with that or just be into it as well. I remember there's a scene where they're together a good ways through the movies, and they're like I think they're being intimate together or something, and like they use the line like I'm gonna spoon your eyeballs out, and I'm like what? Like, they think it's like romantic between the two of them.
Mm.
Um, so it's definitely like it's a romance that definitely has some quirkiness to it.
Yeah, it's your description of it is sounding as weird as I think that I thought it was at the time. I'm probably better equipped to watch a movie of that caliber now than I was then. But
Hmm.
yeah, it definitely still sounds weird.
Yeah, right. I mean, and it was weird for a lot of people. Like we said, if when people probably watched Uncut Gems and expected a certain Adam Sandler and didn't get that Adam Sandler, so
Hmm.
this was definitely a very different role for him. Um, it would be 5 years until what I guess, which is widely considered Paul Thomas Anderson's best movie. 2007's There Will Be Blood came out,
Mm,
and that would be his first collaboration with Daniel Day Lewis and the lead role. And I guess like the movie is really about like a guy trying to like strike it rich for oil, and
mm-hmm.
he's kind of dealing with this like this other guy who's trying to like instill religion on him by like Paul Dano.
Yep.
And I don't know. I remember like when the movie came out, I thought it was fantastic. It's like this really sprawling epic, and there's a lot of comparisons to like Citizen Kane when it came out, and I don't think those are like
Makes
that
sense.
far off. Yeah, um, a guy so entrapped into just like his business and what he wants that he can't like see beyond that. But I think certainly what really drives the movie is Daniel Day Lewis. Um, he's
That's for
just
sure.
yeah, he's phenomenal in it. Um, it's funny when so 2007 is also the year that No Country for Old Men came out, and both those movies were like neck and neck year-end awards, and there was all sorts of things about which movie would ultimately win Oscars and be remembered and what have you. And No Country won, and if I was to sit here right now and tell you which one I'd rather watch, I'd probably be No Country. I think like that's like a more enjoyable movie, and you know, them like thematically interesting to me.
I
But
hear ya.
um, I still like really think There Will Be Blood is fantastic. There's like a movement, Evan, now that people are like just waiting for it to be available on the 4K format, and like people are like looking all the time. They're like, "Oh, is Criterion gonna release this on 4K? That'd be amazing!" And I'm like, I don't know what will ultimately come out on, but I know that people are excited to maybe catch this one on 4K. Um, do you have any history with this one?
Yeah, I feel like I'm probably in a minority of people who thought this movie, both at the time and probably now, is highly overrated. But I think I don't respond to like long, slow movies like I feel like this one was. I feel like when I watched it, its 2 hour, 30-minute runtime was very felt.
Mm-hmm.
And I really like Daniel Day-Lewis in it. I think he's terrific. I think he's just an excellent actor. And yeah, you're right. He does really carry this movie on his shoulders in so many ways, playing this greedy oil tycoon guy who's just fucking ruthless and just like willing to do anything, like screw people over, and he like delights in screwing people over. And so I
Yeah,
remember liking
that's a
him
great.
a lot in it.
Yeah, it's a great like dialogue in here. Of course, the "I drink your milkshake" sequence, where like that has lived far outside the movie.
Yeah, that's for sure. And I think also part of my dislike for this movie is Paul Dano. I have a well documented history of just not liking him as a performer. Like, he'll slip through the odd occasional role where I'm like, yeah, you know what, I really liked him in that. I was a big fan of Paul Dano in that. But I remember at the time being like, I hate this actor. I don't like his performance. And he's playing two characters in the movie. He's playing twins, and I just remember that also making it kind of a slog to get through, just having Paul Dano play like such a central part of this movie.
Oh yeah, definitely. But yeah, it's probably been like almost 15 years since I've seen this movie at least. So
Me
um,
too. It's been a while, so I feel like I probably should rewatch this one too and give it another shot to see if I have a different appreciation. I still think I'll probably find it long and slow, but I might appreciate it more in the PTA canon.
Right. One that I find long and slow is the next one, which is 2012's The Master, which I've always felt um, had phenomenal acting,
Yes.
but I just didn't really care for the story or what was going on in it.
I think that's fair. I This was one of the ones I think I liked of his more, but a lot of that has to do, I think, with Joaquin Phoenix and Philip Seymour Hoffman in their performances. Like you said, that the acting I think is excellent in this film, and I do think it's compelling story in that you have this like wayward guy who falls in with a Scientology like cult led by an L. Ron Hubbard kind of figure played by Philip Seymour Hoffman. And Hoffman, I think, has the charisma to pull it off, and you can really see how Joaquin Phoenix's character Freddy falls in with this group and is like caught in its orbit. Like he's a mess of a person. Like he's an alcoholic. He's just strung out all the time, and I found that aspect of the movie very compelling. Like Joaquin Phoenix, you know, very convincingly playing someone who is just a mess of a person and is trying to get out of a spiral, like a self-destructive cycle and having problems, and then falling in with this group that also is like probably not a good group of people to be associated with. And I think I found that compelling. I also remember the cinematography in this being quite striking, and so visually I remember being arrested by this movie, even if it's also kind of long and slow and maybe not the most compelling as you're saying.
No, I'm glad that you mentioned a little bit about the visuals and like the cinematography in this one. If I if I remember correctly, this was like maybe one of the first opportunities that like PTA was able to like experiment with like different film formats. Certainly when we talk about his other contemporaries like Christopher Nolan, he makes blockbusters, so he's been doing these giant IMAX films whenever he wants and getting the money to do them. But I think I remember when The Master came out, there was a big deal about like there being 70 millimeter screenings of it, and
Hmm.
um, so like it doesn't surprise me now. Certainly with one battle after another, and like there's like I don't know 10 different ways to see the movie, whether it's in VistaVision or 70 millimeter IMAX 70 Dolby Atmos or DCP. you know, um,
Hmm.
Certainly is a guy who wants to really put his vision out there. Um, I guess like one of the other things which would come along. I don't know when he started work collaborating with Johnny Greenwood, which is Greenwood is of course part of Radiohead
Hmm.
and has done a few of the PTA scores. I know he again worked on One Battle After Another, um, so he's a frequent collaborator. Let's see what else we want to talk about. So, I guess Evan and I are both kind of in agreement that The Master is a film to really enjoy for the masterful acting on display. I mean, Amy Adams is also terrific. We didn't really mention her, and um,
Hmm. Yep.
she's very good as Philip Seymour Hoffman's support, if you will.
Yeah. Oh my God. Now all I can think of is that really awkward like scene where she's giving him a hand job.
Yeah, yeah,
Like an
yeah.
angry hand job.
Right. Getting them ready. Um, the next movie, I guess like what is the author's name here? It's
Oh,
like
Thomas
Thomas.
Pynchon.
Yeah, so this was an adaptation of a Thomas Pynchon novel, Inherent Vice, in 2014. Um, One Battle After Another is also a loose adaptation of another Thomas Pynchon novel, but yeah, Inherent Vice, um, 2014. This was not. This is another like kind of not super excited PTA movie for me. I guess like I thought it was too weird.
And see, this one I kind of really dug. I really liked Inherent Vice. In some of the notes to kind of prep for the episode, Max, you mentioned people saying that you felt very inspired by Robert Altman
Mm-hmm.
in his work. At least that's what others were saying about. I don't remember if you said that he specifically said he was inspired by Altman, but this film feels very Altman. I describe it as like The Big Lebowski meets Altman's The Long Goodbye
Mm-hmm.
in terms of like being a detective-y kind of story. And yeah, I think I liked that this was just, kind of like a weird stoner induced fever dream kind of drug hazy, you know, uh kind of mystery movie. I feel like I was really about it. I liked the humor, I liked the cast. I think Joaquin Phoenix had the right sensibility to play the kind of like stoner detective at the center of it all. I liked that this movie was about the indulgences of the 60s as much as like the end of them as well. And it just, I don't know. I get the sense in watching it and remember enjoying it that it's the kind of thing where like possibly like The Big Lebowski, your appreciation might grow more from viewings.
Mm.
I don't think I've had a chance to watch it again since I saw this originally, which I believe was sometime in 2015. But I got the sense that because it's kind of out there that it might be the kind of thing you might appreciate more on repeat viewings, or perhaps with herbal refreshments, as I wrote in my Letterboxd review when I saw it.
Yeah, I could totally see that going. No, for many of the reasons why you say you like it, maybe is why I didn't vibe with it. That whole like Big Lebowski kind of feeling to it, and um, why I think I like Big Lebowski these days. I don't know. I have a hard time sometimes with these movies that go a certain direction that I don't necessarily want them to go, and being okay with that. For example, probably the biggest example, and it's notable that I'm talking about it on one of its year anniversaries, is Monty Python and the Holy Grail, where the first time I saw the movie, I was so pissed off at the ending. I was like, I expected like this was a journey that we were going on, and we had to like get there, and like there had to be like some kind of like finish to the movie. And
Hmm.
famously, there's no spoilers for Holy Grail. Famously, the movie just ends when they're like arrested, and they don't complete their mission. And I was just like, what the fuck is going on with this movie? Not realizing that the whole movie is the journey, and like just laughing with it, not necessarily like expecting them to get somewhere in the end. So, but now, years later, I love Holy Grail, and maybe Inherent Vice is one of those where you just have to like kind of learn to go with its particular rhythm, and it will be better.
Yeah, yeah. I can see why it wouldn't work for you, but yeah, I think it's the kind of thing where it's like you grow to appreciate it more. Because I do think back to like when I watched The Big Lebowski for the first time, I was kind of like, this is the movie that everyone's been talking about. I'm kind of like underwhelmed, but it's one of those
Mm-hmm.
ones that's like I've watched it more and I've grown to appreciate its bizarreness, and it's like dialogue has grown on me. It's become more quotable as time has gone on, especially
Mm.
because not to go on too long of a tangent here, is responsible for probably my favorite TV edit of a swear sequence ever in a movie. There's a scene where John Goodman is like smashing the car, yelling, "This is what happens, Larry, when you fuck a stranger in the ass. And then in the TV version, he yells, "This is what happens, Larry, when you find a stranger in the Alps."
uh, that's funny.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So, and here in Vice, so that was a back-to-back collaboration with Joaquin Phoenix. He
Hmm.
for 2017's Phantom Thread, he would again team up with Daniel Day Lewis, which back in 2017 it was known as Daniel Day Lewis's final movie. We're talking about that this weekend because Dan Day Lewis has now appeared in another movie almost 10 years later. This one for his son directing. I guess it's called uh, Anemone or something like that. And yeah, that just premiered at New York Film Festival and coming out very shortly. But yeah, Daniel Day Lewis came back to acting. But Phantom Thread, I really, really dig this movie. This is like it's set in 1950s London, where there's this really famous fashion designer. His name's Reynolds Woodcock, and he's played by Lewis. And
Hmm.
he's very exacting. He has a life that like he needs to eat at certain times, and he needs to do this at certain times. There's like a very structured rhythm to his life, and he comes in contact with this woman played by Vicky Krieps, and she's her name's Alma, and she kind of you know wins him over romantically. He becomes very interested in her and dressing for her, because he making dresses for her,
Hmm.
and she kind of becomes his muse for a while, and she loves that. She loves that attention, but he has these flights of fancy, and he decides that he's almost had enough of her, and he everything that he liked about her at one time he's grown to dislike. And his sister, played by Leslie Manville, her name's Cyril, she also lives in the house, and she like has like a controlling interest in his fashion design business. And she's like very much like, oh, you should know my brother is this way, and you have to kind of conform. And she ultimately gets this idea that like she doesn't want to let this life go, and she needs to take control again. This is Vicky Krieps' Alma character, and she ultimately decides that she is going to find some mushrooms and kind of give her good boyfriend there some food poisoning. Make him very, very ill. And what she finds is that when he's ill, he kind of leans on her again and remembers why he needs her, and their relationship works when he feels like he needs her, and she likes to feel needed. But like I think like outside of the those main three performances in this, what I really love about Phantom Thread is how it's written.
Hmm.
Like my wife and I will like just randomly quote lines from Phantom Thread at each other all the time. I think it's like insanely quotable movie. Um, yeah, I'm a big fan of this one. Like, it's definitely grown on me. Like, I think the first time I saw her, I was like, oh, that was fine. But then, like, I saw it like two or three more times, and I was like, oh yeah, this is a really fun and good movie.
This is one of his I haven't seen, but I know a lot of people really, really love it. I know it has a reputation for being very beloved, both for the performances in it, but also in PTA's filmography. It's one I just haven't gotten around to seeing it.
Yeah, I definitely recommend you see it. It was for a long time since COVID happened. It was like the last like big studio release. I mean, we talk here. Paul Thomas Anderson famously doesn't get monster budgets for his movies, and he also, in return, doesn't make a lot of money at the box office before this evening, which we're recording the weekend after One Battle After Another came out. That movie was apparently budgeted at 150 million, way higher than any of his previous movies, and also did about like 20 to 25 million at the box office for opening weekend, which was like also way more than any of his previous movies. Um, so yeah, Phantom Thread was it probably isn't in the same, or Paul Thomas Anderson movies in general aren't in the same like kind of knowledge base that Nolan's movies are, Christopher Nolan, because of
Mm-hmm.
the budgets and what they're working at. But yeah, Phantom Thread, I definitely recommend it if you haven't seen it yet.
Cool. Add it to my list.
From there, like I said, Paul Thomas Anderson kind of made a movie in the middle of COVID. He kind of felt like he needed to make a movie, keep on working, and so he kind of like got a lot of friends together or people who would be available to make a movie with him,
Mm-hmm.
and okay with like whatever COVID restrictions there were, and he ended up casting the son of Philip Seymour Hoffman, Cooper Hoffman, in the lead role, where he plays a young man named Gary, who's kind of like, I guess he's like an entrepreneur and like kind of like really crafty kid, and he ends up kind of, I guess, romancing or falling in love with this slightly older woman, played by Alana Haim of famous from the band Haim. She was, I guess, knew Paul Thomas Anderson from him directing their music videos or somewhat, and she was cast in this movie as one of the leads, and the movie's really about them, the two of them, and their growing romance during 1973, and there's a lot of references to what's going on in the San Fernando Valley during that era. I guess there's like a gas shortage that makes up a large part of the plot, and like pinball machines really taking off, and um, I wouldn't say like it's a, you know, what's the word I'm looking for, like essential Paul Thomas Anderson film,
Mm-hmm.
but I remember when I saw it, I was just like smiling throughout because I was like, oh, this is just like such a joy to watch.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people had a love for this one too, even though it's not necessarily one of his most beloved. It seemed like he really did a good job of like capturing the atmosphere and the vibe of like the era in a way that people were really digging with.
Yeah, and he did manage to get some friends to like come in and like film a little bit with him. Sean Penn is in the movie. I think what's his name? I think Bradley Cooper is in the movie like briefly, if I remember correctly.
Mm,
Um, it says like here I'm looking at just the extended casting list here. I guess John C. Riley did have a small role in this, and Maya Rudolph appeared in it. So yeah, he basically called in a lot of favors and got a whole bunch of people to star in it, and it was fun. I don't think like it was one of those movies that you weren't gonna sell on Star Power because you had Alana Haim um, and Cooper Hoffman as your leads,
mm-hmm.
but yeah, I remember enjoying that one quite a bit, which kind of takes us all the way up to today, Evan, where we are on the end of opening weekend for One Battle After Another, the latest film in his filmography, and probably the best reviews he's had in a good long while. Um, this one stars Leonardo DiCaprio, which big A-lister, right? The first time they've
Mm-hmm.
ever worked together.
Yep.
It co-stars Sean Penn and Benicio del Toro. Um, there's also I wouldn't call her a newcomer because I've seen her in other stuff, but like this young actress named Chase Infinity plays Leonardo DiCaprio's daughter in the movie, and
Mm.
she's pretty fantastic in this role. Um, Briefly, Alana Haim is in this movie. She kind of makes an appearance, and yeah, it was not what I thought it was going to be when I saw those trailers.
In a good way
It's
or a bad way?
in a good way. The trailers didn't do a good job of selling this movie, so
Okay.
like really, um, it starts like 16 years in the past where Leonardo DiCaprio is kind of like a um, bomb specialist for this like let's call them a terrorist group called the French 75.
Hmm.
And their idea is that they're going to go to refugee camps and they're going to free the refugees and like provide them shelter or let them escape from these containment camps. And why there, um, the I guess the woman that Leonardo DiCaprio's character is involved with, um, she's played by Tiana Taylor, and she kind of gets into a weird relationship with Sean Penn's character, who's like a guy who works at the containment camps. His name's like Stephen Lockjaw, and that relationship kind of extends out through um, like later months and what have you. Why he kind of like tracks her down, and um, she ends up getting pregnant, and she has a child, and she quickly finds Tiana Taylor's character. She finds that she doesn't want to necessarily be mom. She has a mission to like do good in this world and keep on fighting the good fight. And so she goes on a mission where she doesn't return from, and quickly Leonardo DiCaprio's character takes his daughter and flees and starts a new life. All these years later, um, Sean Penn's character is trying to get into this like white nationalist group, like this like really scary white nationalist
Hmm.
group, and they're like, "Oh well, you have to be like the whitest person imaginable, and you of course didn't have any relationships with any black women in the past, have you?" And he's like, "No, no, no, I haven't." And so he uses his kind of his pull in the military to try to like track down um, Leonardo DiCaprio's character and the young woman who, um, you know, he's trying to find out whether or not he's the father or not of this young woman.
Hmm. Okay.
Yeah, from there on it's just a thrill ride. Um, a lot of chase sequences. Um, it just moves at a very quick clip. Um, Johnny Greenwood's score is fantastic for like invoking a lot of this tense drama throughout the movie. Um, I really dug it. I like I said, I didn't know like that's what this movie was gonna be, and I was like kind of surprised. It's definitely like a movie that like puts our cops as the villains, and I was like, oh, this is like a big Warner Brothers movie that they decided to give Paul Thomas Anderson all this money to make this movie, and I'm like, this is very like a statement for a movie that I was surprised that was getting made.
Yeah. Not necessarily the person you'd think that Warner Brothers would hand a stack of cash to.
Yeah.
Well, this sounds interesting to me. He's not really PT is not really a thriller kind of guy, so that's interesting to me that he's in this he's making this kind of very like actiony, action-packed kind of thing here.
Yeah, no, and like I know it's like he's done like so many different genres and things. I think like he just does what whatever like kind of tickles his fancy at that point, right? Because like
Mm-hmm.
like he's done like romances, he's done heavy dramas, um, big sprawling casts. Like Benicio del Toro is like he plays like this sensei at the karate school that Leonardo DiCaprio's daughter goes to, and like Leonardo
Mm-hmm.
DiCaprio kind of leans on him in this movie to like help him out, and it's just like such a fantastic role for Benicio del Toro. It's like maybe like miss like him because like I was like, oh, I just haven't seen him in a role like this in such a long time.
Yeah, he can be really great.
So yeah, I totally recommend One Battle After Another. I actually to share, I the first time I saw it in a Dolby Atmos theater. Um, Great sound. I'm actually taking a trip up to Boston because Boston, specifically the Coolidge Corner Theater, is one of four theaters in the world that is equipped with the VistaVision um, projector and tools in order to kind of project it in that format. And I was like, oh wow, it's one thing to go up there to see a movie, but it's another thing to go see a movie that you like.
Yeah,
Thankfully, it's a good movie, so it's worth taking a trip.
yeah. The Coolidge is a just a really amazing theater, and if you live in the Boston area, you should definitely go see a movie there. And if even if you're just visiting, you should go see a movie there. It's a very memorable place to see a movie.
Yeah, we're very fortunate to have some great independent theaters in Boston. Not only the Coolidge, but also the Somerville and the Brattle.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think we're gonna pretty much wrap up our Paul Thomas Anderson conversation. Evan, have you found a new Paul Thomas Anderson movie to watch, or do you have PTA homework in your future?
Well, I definitely want to see one battle after another. I'm
Hmm.
very intrigued by the premise, and you made it sound really exciting. So I for sure want to see that, and I'm thinking maybe I need to either go give There Will Be Blood another, shake or Punch Drunk Love, perhaps, or maybe just say, okay, I'm gonna sit down and finally watch Phantom Thread.
Mm. Yeah, those are certainly good ones to highlight. Yeah, maybe even Boogie Nights, right? Because that
Yeah,
one's fun. It
true.
has Mark Wahlberg and Burt Reynolds, so um, pretty pretty fantastic cast on that one.
Yeah, what about you?
Um, for me, I guess like maybe give Inherent Vice another try. Talking to you about it, maybe it's been some time since I watched it, and yeah, definitely There Will Be Blood. We watch is in my future. I think like it's been long enough for me to watch that one again.
Nice.
But yeah, that's our Paul Thomas Anderson filmography conversation. I hope that you've also found a new PTA movie to watch or give a try. Some of these are available via the Criterion Collection. I know like Punch Drunk Love is. Other ones are available. Um, I think like Phantom Thread has a 4K. I have that. I don't think Licorice Pizza does. I think that's a Blu-ray. So it's like these are all in all different formats and releases. But um, you know, try to find them. If there's one that you haven't watched, I think that they're all definitely worth watching. All 10 of them. But before we go on to the what we've been watching section, we're going to pause here for some station identification. You've been listening to the It's the Pictures podcast. I am your host, Max Colville. You can find me on Blue Sky at maxcolville.com or search for me, Max Colville. I'm on Letterboxd as well pretty often. If you want to find the podcast. You can find us on Spotify, on Apple, on YouTube. Check out our YouTube shorts that I've been making. You'll probably enjoy those. One that I did the other day was on the new Dwayne Johnson movie, The Smashing Machine, and that one was doing pretty well. If you want to follow the podcast, you can also find us on Blue Sky at It's the Pictures or It's the Pic Pod. You can email us it's the pictures at gmail.com. Let us know your favorite Paul Thomas Anderson movie and maybe what you thought about One Battle After Another if you saw it. Evan, where can they find you?
Let's see. So you can find me each week over at Spoiler Piece Theater, the weekly film review podcast, but you can also find me on Letterboxd, Instagram, Blue Sky, Threads. And for some reason, I'm still on Twitter. I'm basically just lurking there at this point. I'm not actually posting anything as Real Recon, and that's real as in film real.
All right, so let's go into the what you've been watching section. Evan, I know off air we talked. You were watching a little bit of Alien Earth, the TV show.
Yep.
What else have you been watching?
Let's see. So I caught up with a movie that I really liked this past week called Dead of Winter. It's it stars Emma Thompson and Judy Greer is also in it. And it's the premise is Emma Thompson's this woman, and she's in like going ice fishing at this lake in the middle of nowhere in Minnesota, where it's cold as hell, very snowy, and she sees this girl that's been kidnapped by this couple, one of which is played by Judy Greer. The husband's played by Mark Menchaca, and yeah, the girl's been kidnapped by them, and so Emma Thompson is like, I gotta help this girl, but they're there in the middle of the wilderness with like very little resources and like nobody nearby to help. So she's like this one person against these two people trying to save this girl who's been kidnapped, and I really enjoyed it. It's not perfect. It's definitely got some flaws. One of which being Emma Thompson has kind of a silly accent in it that she's doing, like a Minnesota accent. And there's a crap ton of flashbacks in the movie, like a lot of flashbacks that kind of fill in her backstory. But it's a really kind of down and dirty kind of fight to the death kind of actiony thrillery movie in the wilderness with
When's this one from?
it just came out.
Oh, all right.
It's just came out now. It's in theaters, and yeah, it's a actiony, survivally kind of movie. You have like characters being very resourceful, and Judy Greer playing the heavy, which I know she's not known for that, but I think she's quite good in this as a villain. I'd like to see more Judy Greer kind of going off the chain villain characters. So, yeah, I liked Dead of Winter, and then another one I caught up with is I finally got around to seeing the I think 2014 film Nightcrawler with Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yeah, I've never seen this one either. It's always been like back on my like back burner.
Yeah, it's the same, and we just sat down and just decided to watch it, and I thought it was really good. I was really captivated by it.
Hmm.
You have Jake Gyllenhaal plays this character named Lewis Bloom, who's he's a very scrappy kind of dude. Like you meet him in the beginning, he's like stealing stuff to make a living. He's trying to find any which way to make a living in the world, and he realizes that he can drive around at night rushing to the scenes of like accidents and horrific things and film what's happening there and then sell that footage to the local TV news stations. And he meets this other guy who does it. They call themselves Nightcrawlers. He meets this other guy played by Bill Paxton, who's been at it for a while, and gets into competition with him. And he takes on this is an early performance of Riz Ahmed, and he takes him in as like his partner in all of this. Rene Russo is this newscaster who's buying all this footage from him, and it's just really intense movie, and Jake Gyllenhaal is just stellar performance at the center of it. He's just I don't know, he's so captivating as this like sociopathic character, and he's just really all in on it, and I couldn't look away from it.
Hmm.
It's one of those movies that's just like it's very intense, its score I think doesn't necessarily work all the time, but it's got really excellent cinematography and just a really just go for broke kind of performance at the center of it. That Jake Gyllenhaal is, he's phenomenal. So I was all about Nightcrawler. I was just like, wow, I can't believe I didn't watch this movie before because it well blew me away.
Yeah, that one was I guess it was directed by Dan Gilroy. And
Hmm.
since Nightcrawler, he hasn't really had that many good movies. I saw his 2017 effort, Roman J. Israel Esquire, and I remember like not liking that at all. And then he
Yeah, I
had
wasn't a
Velvet
fan of that either.
Buzzsaw.
Ugh, that
Um,
movie.
so I think it says here on IMDb that he has another movie in development called Faster, Cheaper, Better with Harry Styles starring. So we'll see if Dan Gilroy has another um, good movie in him after many people have liked Nightcrawler. It's just one movie that I haven't seen. Um, Evan, I before I talk about what movie I kind of rewatched a little bit, I wanted to just give you a second because we during episode 203 I talked about the late Robert Redford and wanted to see like if you had a favorite Robert Redford performance that like you always remember fondly.
Oh, Robert Redford. So, oh, it's a favorite per se, but I did just rewatch Sneakers. We were talking about it
Hmm.
over on Patreon for Spoiler Piece Theater, and that was a fun revisit. Even though the movie itself is probably not the most thrilling movie as a thriller,
Yeah.
and definitely has a fair number of flaws, but Robert Redford is just so good in it, and he's excellent in the comedy. He's very light on his feet, and the cast is really great. So I enjoyed him in that. I've liked him in Spy Game quite a bit. That's
Mm-hmm.
one of my favorite Redford performances. Also, a big fan of of All the President's Men. I liked him in The Sting, even though the movie itself was kind of really goofy and all over the place. I would say those are some of my favorite Redford performances.
Awesome. Yeah. Yeah. I was really I don't know if I would say sad because like I knew Redford was older and stuff like that, but he was a great titan of cinema and greatly missed. So I was thinking about him and his roles quite a bit recently. Um, yeah, for me, I've been getting a lot of 4Ks recently. I guess like the fall is the time for 4K releases, and
Mm,
um, why I think I watched like 10 minutes of the new 4K of the original Tron, which looked great.
oh,
I want to
nice.
watch some more of that, and I also picked up Tron Legacy in 4K. And I wouldn't say anticipation of Tron Ares because I don't I don't even know if I want to see that.
Mm,
Um,
I get it.
but yeah, the other one that I got was Sound of Music recently got restored for its 4K UHD premiere. I guess like when Sound of Music was originally filmed, it was filmed on like 65 millimeter, so it's kind of upgrade to like to 4K and maybe 8K film prints uh, is much easier than some other film stocks. It looks fantastic on 4K. I watched pretty much the first half of the movie. The movie's like about 3 hours long, so um, we got to watch like an hour and a half of it. My wife and child and I, and yeah, it still holds up. It's a great movie. On one layer you can watch it and it's just like a movie about like this woman who um, is an aspiring nun and she gets sent to a household to become the nanny of 7 children and
Hmm.
on the other side you can watch it as this movie where it's like very much like we're not going to conform to um, the Nazis coming into Austria and we're going to like still love our country and not conform to this new hatred that's coming into the world. And um, on both ways, it's a very entertaining movie.
It's one of those ones that I'm ashamed to say I've never seen.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Oh, you have to watch this movie.
Yeah, I know. I know it's essential viewing, and one of these days I'm gonna watch it.
Yeah, it's just so memorable. Julie Andrews in the lead here, and how she just goes from she has a very directness about her and her character. She's like she's going to do what she wants to do, and that's kind of fun to see. Um, on another layer, I guess like Christopher Plummer is the father of this family, and um, when she first meets him, he's kind of fallen back on his kind of like military background. He was like a captain of a naval fleet, and that's how he kind of treats his kids. He keeps them in line, and you discover like that the reason why he kind of fall he's doing that is because like he feels a lot of pain over the loss of his late wife, and
Mm,
that's kind of like his kind of fallback to like have some kind of guidance in his life. But yeah, it's a fun movie, fantastic music, great choreography, great cinematography, and it's the reason why it's a classic. Why 60 years later, I'm still talking about it and sharing it with my family. So, if you haven't seen Sound of Music in a while or have never seen it,
yeah, like me.
There's no better time than now.
Cool.
Alrighty, so Evan, that will wrap up our episode on Paul Thomas Anderson. Um, yeah, fun times. We will be
Hmm.
back again in 2 weeks' time with a new topic. Right in the midst of fall movie watching season. Horror watching season will be in the midst of October, so plenty to talk about.
Oh yeah, that's for sure. I'll be watching plenty of horror movies.
All right. Well, thank you, Evan.
Yeah. We'll see you next time.
All right. Bye.